Hey yo, it's your friendly neighborhood crow, Ashlyn Sticks here. I am currently working on a commission of sorts for an individual on Wolvden. This is a new commissioner. They've never commissioned me before. They want me to do this wolf as pictured. They wanted a headshot of the wolf. So that's what we're working on at the moment. This is my reference, like, for the head, upright, not in a what's called a relaxed pose variant. Wolvden is a game that I started, a couple of months ago, and the community is pretty friendly and everything. They are very proactive in purchasing things from artists regarding their wolves or original characters, what have you. It's pretty cool. The website does not allow AI art of any sort, or tracing or anything like that. So they're pretty proactive at keeping artists, in the forefront rather than the technology that kind of comes along with advancements, Right now I'm just kind of sketching the head out. I kind of have a way of doing this that I prefer. I have a specific set of kind of shapes I use in my art typically for wolves. It's not even. This is my first, full-length recording. It's not going to be sped up. Which is mildly nerve-wracking for me. I am a hobbyist artist, as I don't work in the industry or anything like that. That's okay. Art is sustainable for some people, but it was not sustainable for me growing up. So now I just mostly do it as a hobby. But I do commissions, obviously. I love art quite a bit, so doing art for others is nice. And kind of moving this a little bit here. I have discovered over the years that I feel like that's too small. I am better at drawing art of animals or fairy tale D&D critters rather than doing hyper-realistic people. My anime people aren't terrible, but they're still not my favorite thing to draw, honestly. People in general are not as fun for me. Many artists would probably challenge that notion, but everybody's got a niche, and my favorite niche is the animals. Now, with Wolvden, obviously it's centered around wolves, wild wolves. In the game, it is basically like a management game. It's pretty in-depth, it has events, and the community can be pretty, what would I say? I mean, they can be pretty hardcore about everything, but generally speaking, they're fairly pleasant. am not used to talking this long, forgive me. I don't even know what to talk about, which is mildly amusing. Oh, I forgot. Does not combine my layers. The application I'm using is Ibis Paint. I am currently drawing on a Android tablet. Do not ask me what model it is, I have literally no idea. I bought it years ago. I just never fully implemented any drawing on it, because I've been more of a traditional artist most of my life. Just preferred painting and drawing by hand. It is quite the transition to go from traditional art to digital art. I used to think that digital art was like cheating, that essentially anytime I saw digital art, I didn't take it very serious, I guess would be the best way to put it. I never knew how difficult it could actually be. Yes, there are shortcuts, but there are shortcuts in traditional art as well. But even with those shortcuts, it is a completely different feel from drawing traditionally. Of course, there are different ways to do it. I would assume drawing on a drawing pad, like attached to a computer, would be a bit more smooth. Maybe feel a little bit more like traditional drawing. In the sense that I have a pen, it's not too bad. I do not recommend drawing with your finger. I tried that once. Yeah, it's not great. Honestly, my art pieces take a hot minute most of the time. I don't have formal training. I'm colorblind. I feel like that's too big. I'm colorblind. You know, lots of artistic complications. So my art tends to take me, I wouldn't say a lot longer than the average individual. It can, especially if someone wants like a full color piece. If it's a full color piece and it happens to be a traditional piece, I'm not even gonna lie, it does take me a minute. As it is, being colorblind is already rare. I can't remember the statistics, but it is a fairly rare phenomena that typically doesn't occur in women very often. It doesn't occur in women very often. It's carried in the male genome, that much I know. I feel like those are the same size, but it's okay. It will adjust as I go. My great-grandmother was colorblind, my father is colorblind, and both of my uncles are colorblind. As far as we know, I am the only one of my siblings that unfortunately landed up with that as a trait of mine. Generally speaking, it doesn't affect my day-to-day life too much. Most of how it's affected is I struggle picking out my clothing and matching properly. In fact, we didn't know I was colorblind until I was in high school and I took one of those colorblindness tests. I did live in a smaller town, so testing of that sort was not like a huge deal. And when it came back that I was colorblind, it answered some looming questions that my family had about my ability to dress myself properly. Of course, I wore pants and everything like a normal person, but I struggled to match my clothing on multiple occasions. I would go to school with mismatched colored shoes because I had the same brand of shoe, multiple colors of the same brand of shoe. And there were a couple of times I wore different colors to school. Of course, I always downplayed it, making it seem like I did it on purpose, but that was not the case. It became a thing to where I would either wear black all the time, and sometimes it wasn't actually black, it was like dark blue or dark purple, not that anyone would help me, really. My family found it more amusing to tease me about it than they did to assist me. So I grew up with it, and it does not change much of my normal day-to-day functioning. I do have some issues with traffic lights. I have issues with, say, if I was painting, most of my paints are actually labeled. I prefer Crayola-colored pencils and crayons because they happen to be labeled with the colors. I have a general idea of where the colors sit in the spectrum, that kind of stuff. Lots and lots of practice went into that, but as it is, it's not terribly detrimental. So when it comes to hair, I kind of have like a little pattern I follow. I guess it's a stylistic choice, don't really know. I don't know how to classify that, honestly. It's just something that occurs naturally when I'm drawing. You might see some reoccurring fur patterns and stuff like that. I am still figuring out fur. Canines are actually a bit difficult to draw. When I first started drawing them for fun for the website and learning how to code so I could change the background and stuff to my page, kind of like you did in MySpace. I started learning how to draw wolves, and at first I was not very good. Just like with anything else, it kind of comes with practice, and I got better as time went on. There are some pretty amazing artists on the website that I take inspiration from. I always liked wolves. I like management games. I actually found Wolvden on TikTok. of all places. I guess it kind of blew up from there. Not sure if there was a viral video or what caused it, honestly. But I guess the website had like a huge influx of individuals wanting to play the game. And it did kind of throw the game economy off, because there is like a user trade center where you can trade wolves and currency and other various items you get on the website, because you can decorate your wolves. Obviously, if we look at our little friend here, the colors underneath the black, I think that's black, or dark blue, are all actual colors the wolf happens to be, because you can make, obviously you can breed wolves that are funky colors, very funky colors, but the eyeball designs, that's actually decor. The background is an applied decor, so it is under its own label as decor. So you can decorate them, you can breed them different colors, you can, where'd you come from? All of that kind of stuff. It's a pretty in-depth, pretty nifty game, in my opinion. As someone who grew up reading the Warrior Cats series and books like White Fang or Black Beauty, all the animal books that came out. Forever ago, actually. Sorry, I'm trying to focus. They came out forever ago. All the Wild. Those were some of my favorite books growing up. So as someone who obviously likes the animals, or animals in general, that type of game appealed to me. Generally speaking, a lot of people write lore for their wolves. I do. The community is very creative. They all seem to really love and enjoy the game, and they add their own lore and depth to it, the game developers themselves. I say game, it's not like your traditional game, it is a browser game. It's not, you can't find it on like Steam or anything like that. It is very much a browser game. Yeah, the community is very lively, very creative. The game devs are always putting new stuff out. Always putting new stuff out for the game, like new events, new clothes, new base colors that you can play your wolves, you know, all that kind of stuff that adds a unique flair to the game. I know, it's very fire-like, at least in the ear. The ear hair definition isn't super important because the ears are black, but for my sake, oh my god, what? For my sake, I draw it anyway. Is that better? Really? I still don't know how to use all of the mechanics of Ibis Paint, but it works really well. Comparatively, I've used other apps, and a lot of them are jittery or generally speaking, they aren't... You have to watch ads and all this other stuff. This one tends to be pretty cheap. It's like $2.99 a month to have the pro mode, which is pretty nice. I'll just flip it in here. Something else. This one has the manipulate, it has the liquefy, it has the ability to do multiple layers, like all of the layers, I should probably know. Right now I am working on one layer, it's just how I do my stuff. By the end I'll have like 6, 7, maybe 8 layers. Normally it doesn't exceed that. I do use Ibis Paint's assets because they do have some pretty good like background assets and stuff, and that's the whole point of paying the premium, you know. I do draw my own backgrounds occasionally, but that is definitely not my forte. I struggle a little bit with backgrounds because the color layering that is required for it. But I have a couple of pieces that I think came out pretty good despite the fact that I did the backgrounds myself. It's just more time consuming. For headshot commissions, I tend to use some of the assets to add a little background flair to our wolves. All that kind of shenanigans. I do not use any of the AI tools because I don't support AI. I don't support AI being used in art. I don't support it being traced, being... I don't mind if you use it as a reference, but it can't be your only reference. Like, if you're referencing something, you should probably have more than one reference, honestly. In the case of these wolves, I don't have to use a reference. Dang it. Just because of the fact that I've drawn them so many times that at this point, for the most part, I can just bang these guys out. Especially my headshots. Like, they are not... They are not terribly difficult to draw. I don't replicate them. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I don't replicate them as in, like, I don't duplicate my base layers to use in other art unless it is a your character here. Every art piece I do is its own drawing process and all of that, just because that's my preference. Like, you do not have to do it that way. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I also did not use the mirroring tool, which, I mean, you can use. What is it? Like our symmetry ruler, I don't use it. Very rarely will I ever use the mirroring tool, and it's just because of the fact that when you do that, the forms do not come out right for whatever you're drawing. Doesn't matter if you're drawing on a wolf, doesn't matter if you're drawing on a person, it just does not look right. Most critters are not entirely symmetrical, whether it be human or otherwise. We are not perfectly symmetrical. Sometimes when you use the symmetry tool, it comes off very uncanny valley and can freak people out, which is unfortunate, but it is a byproduct of using that tool. I do not know what I'm doing with the chest here. Luckily enough, like I said, I've drawn these guys enough that I don't have to rely on tools to get the stuff done. I just kind of toss them together, just like this. Just some facial fur detailing. I pretty much do in all my art. I've noticed that, like, on a wolf's face, the fur goes in a very specific, like, direction around the eyes to make basically eyebrows, and it grows out in a very particular way. And it doesn't matter if it's a Yorkie or a wolf or, you know, any of them type of little critters. If it's a canine, it pretty much always grows out like this, almost like a butterfly shape. Is that perfect? Let's see. Here, just adjusting them. But it always tends to grow out kind of in a particular shape, so I tend to add a little bit of definition in that way, just because it makes it feel more, I wouldn't say realistic, more accurate would probably be a better term. Albeit I'm not going for like heavy realism or anything, obviously. You know, adding in those little details is important. Okay, let's see here. So now we will layer down here. I think, generally speaking, most of him is going to be black, because of the angle I've got him/her at. I can't remember what gender the wolf is. The wolves do have genders, and you can actually change their pronouns, so they can be like a transgender wolf, or however you want it. Some people like to post their studs as if they were female instead of male, and studs are obviously our breeding wolves. And for lore purposes, I think that's beautiful. I love the fact that they included that, because, you know, it's always nice to be inclusive. There are a lot of different people out there. Why wouldn't there be a lot of different types of wolves if, you know, we were writing lore about them? Why not? I'm going to build the opacity just a bit so I can see where my lines are. Let's see, what can I jabber on about? Oh, colors. So I do color steal with the eyedropper a lot when it comes to like drawing someone's original character or whatever. I will adjust the colors, and sometimes I do my best to eyeball it or guesstimate, just for practice reasons, because if you don't practice with the colors, you're never going to get better at them. And as somebody who can't see them very well, or in some cases at all, being able to kind of figure that out is important. Because, like, in the case of this particular application, there are no color blindness settings, or labels for the colors or anything like that. It's just a color wheel. You just have a color wheel, which is unfortunate. But color blindness isn't seen as like a true disability or anything. So it's not absolutely required for an application to have, or a video game for that matter. But it is really nice when people include them. Because it's a little hard to play like a first-person shooter if someone's wearing a ghillie suit and you can't see them. For example, camouflage is definitely a whole issue for my eyeballs. I do work in contrast. Contrasts are pretty important for me. They help me. A lot of my references will be black or white, or I'll turn them black or white. If it's like an outline reference, like I'm going to use it as a reference for the base drawing. I do have like color palette references. I use Pinterest mostly for those, or Google. I don't believe there's like any actual color palette stuff for iWisp the way there is with like Procreate. There used to be with an application that I used to use. I used to use Autodesk Sketchbook, and it had the Copic markers. And the Copic markers had the numbers and the names with them. Yeah, it doesn't have that anymore. It lost a lot of its functionality when it went from being a paid application back to being a free application. He lost access to a whole bunch of brushes and everything when that happened, and that's when I decided I wasn't going to use that application anymore. Generally speaking, I really would love to get better device with which to do art off of, but that's just not attainable right now. So for now, I make do with what I have. It's better than using a phone. Definitely have to say it's better than using like a phone. Unless you have like one of those really cool note phones that have a stylus with them. Those you can draw on. Albeit the screen is really tiny, so I'm not sure how well that would go. But, you know. I do like this wolf's design. Some wolves' designs can be very natural. And not to say they aren't good, but they can be a little bit more tedious to draw for me. Because in the game, there are markings and bases. And markings and bases for the natural wolves can actually blend into one another. So you can't see them all the time, and sometimes you can see them, but I cannot. Which makes life entertaining when I'm drawing a natural colored wolf. There are niches in the game for individuals that prefer natural wolves or prefer what we call color bombs, which is what this wolf would actually be considered. It would be considered a color bomb. Then they have mutations and stuff that change the base colors as well, which is where we get our piebalds from, and our melanistic wolves, albino wolves. All of that shenanigans. Generally speaking, every wolf is too unique unless they're purposely breeding them to not be unique. Which some individuals do. They want particular colors or particular markings because some are more rare than others. Okay, so we have base color down. Let's see. Zoom in on our friend here. So I think there is. So we're just gonna kind of color steal here. Bit more blendable. I try to be accurate, or as accurate as I can with the markings and the colors. Mostly just because of the fact that most people put a lot of effort into what color their wolf is or what their markings are, and I don't want to take away from that with their pepper at all. Because some of these wolves take a really long time to breed. A wolf lives for 7 years. Of course, that's in-game years, not in-person years. Each day is half a month in the wolf's lifespan. But that's still a great amount of time to because it is very much a genetics game. You can inbreed, and that's a non-desirable trait, obviously, for a wolf to have, is inbreeding. Another trait that's undesirable in a wolf is for it to be a T1 base most of the time. I mean, you can change bases, so it's not like a huge deal, but most people prefer to have a higher tier base for their wolves, which is fair, but it can take a while to breed out to that, but it can also be kind of costly to purchase a wolf. So you can purchase wolves from each other, but it is kind of costly. The game doesn't require you to buy in-game currency. Obviously, it gives you a boost if you do. So a lot of people, it has demons, I think. A lot of people will purchase currency for that reason. Not everyone can afford to do that, so they do give you the ability to breed, and you can also gift wolves and trade them amongst yourselves for items rather than just currency. There's a lot of freedoms that they gave the community, which is really nice in my opinion. Now to the artistic side of things here, I am using my airbrush. I have no idea how artists do the clip to fill coloring? No idea. I've seen videos on it. I don't know if I'm just getting old, but I can't figure it out. I don't know if it's just something that's not easily done on Ibis Paint. No idea. just haven't figured it out and got tired of trying to put the effort in to figure it out, so I do spend time actually manually coloring. Plus it's kind of therapeutic in any case. Progress. Well, it has like 500 million colors on its face. It sure does. So we are going to attempt to get these colors in here. I do love the colorful wolves. When I first started playing the game, I actually bred almost selectively bred just color bombs, but then I got kind of tired of them just because not everybody likes them. So in the case of selling wolves, they weren't like a super popular type of wolf to sell, so it could be kind of hard to sell your puppies. And then, even on top of that, it was also a bit difficult to keep your colors from getting muddied, because the bases have a certain percentage to turn out to other bases. Again, genetics. And while you could configure or figure out what the general percentage would be for your color, it wasn't always guaranteed to work that way, which is unfortunate. Which became kind of tiresome to try to breed out color bombs. Again, there are niches for color bombs. Just like there's niches for certain markings and so on and so forth. I just bend towards more, I guess, like one-tone wolves. But I don't have a specific color I breed anymore. I actually breed for genetic carries rather than anything else. And genetic carries are just mutations that the wolves can have. It's just a preference of mine to do the genetic carries rather than the colors and stuff. Of course, I want to make pretty puppies, so I try not to make them ugly. Try not to. First. But it doesn't always work out. Sometimes I get ugly puppies, and it just is what it is. A lot of the times they still get purchased. Just because people are nice. Pretty sure. Okay, I've got most of the maroon. I think that's maroon. I'm gonna try to tilt this more towards orange here. Hi. It's not working very well. Come up here more towards the orange one. Sometimes when we're trying to adjust oranges, they don't come out right, so I try to adjust them myself most of the time. Just because for whatever reason, they just come out being funky. They come out more brown or more red or whatever than they should be. Of course, we're gonna blend these out and kind of mix the colors and stuff here in just a minute. That way everything is nice and in here proper. Then we're gonna do all of our shading and of that stuff. Okay, so now we've got, looks like pink. As close as my eyeballs are gonna get into that. Some pink in here. And I do have like a Ko-fi account. Which I'll link down below the video if you want an art piece. They're fairly cheap from me. I think right now they're listed at like $10 or $15. So they're fairly cheap for an art piece. I like to think I try to keep things affordable. Our base is still reduced at the moment, so we'll blend everything out and then turn the opacity of the base up. Again, she probably won't match perfectly. Just because of the fact that it's kind of hard to copy the bases. So, yeah, we'll do our best. You can leave me suggestions in the comments. I do take constructive criticism pretty well. I think can't get any better if I don't, attempt to take criticism. Any suggestions would be nice, as I am still learning how to do this digital art stuff. It is not exactly an easy thing to learn. The learning curve is steep to a certain degree, especially when you're an individual that's used to doing things one way and now you're doing them completely different other way. So I'll be honest, touching the screen to be able to change the colors and stuff. It's nice. It's really nice. You know, here. way too strong, excuse you. Just adjusting. Escapes me. Of course, I've still got to do the eyes and everything, but that's alright. I feel like the board is still a little too strong. So I have to add gold detailing, the shading, and add all this. Now we have to set up here. We're going to do this. Here too, but I think that's actually like their hair, not so we will add it in this. We will blend it out after. Just make sure it blends in with the rest of the hair. So we have our eye makeup. And we more or less have an eye over here. Get this here. Then we have one here. Just because it seems like it's kind of symmetrical. Not exactly a triangle, almost like an egg shape, almost. And we have some gold coming down along these guys here. A little gold at the ends. Just these little guys over here. They're feeding into the fur quite a bit in these areas. Then we go over here. So I'm going to go in and probably remove the lines in the center of the eye shape down here. Now we have most of our base colors down here. Then I'm going to come in and add our eye color, which I believe they have hazel, which is supposed to be green. figured you knew things were pupils and rabbis. I have no pupils. Shame on me. Those are relative nice. That's not too bad. Good, actually. Surprisingly. Okay. And we have this. And yes, the base color is affecting the way the colors actually appear here. So we will be going and fixing that shortly. You can see when the color issues start coming in here. It's part of life. Before I forget, erase this out. Just because it's We're going to do like a fly layer. And so Wolvden uses gray, so like a dark gray for their shading. So I kind of try to stick on theme with that. My light source is pretty much like right above his head, or her head. Again, still don't know what gender this is. So I simply do not remember and have not checked either. Don't want to be bouncing our screen around too much, as this is a screen recording. Dark base shadows here. There's a lot of this will get blended out, so it's not quite so dark. But these shadows are kind of important. My shading isn't like 100% on point either. I'm not 100% confident in my shading. So if my shading looks a little off, my apologies. I am doing, oh, there goes my reference window. Excuse you, reference window. Good lord. Sometimes it just misbehaves, I swear. First side of our hair here. That's good. A little bit of shading under the eyes, just a little. Shading across the eyes there. There is like this little batch there that should be darkened underneath the hair here. I don't know why, but this wolf is looking particularly Egyptian-like at the moment. I'm kind of loving it, kind of here for it. I have drawn a couple of these wolves as humans per request. I've drawn them as like furries or anthros, kind of depends on how you want to describe it. I know not everyone likes the furry community, but I enjoy drawing them. Not everybody I've met from the community has been horrible. Some of them have been. But just like in any fandom, you do have the toxic ones that take it a little too far, or are just generally peculiar human beings. Or not good human beings, kinda depends on the individual, not the community itself. So don't be judging communities, that's not very nice. Especially since like the gaming community can be especially toxic, so at least the competitive scene can. Cozy games not so much, but even then I've seen things get a little weird. Human beings have a propensity for violence. They're not very nice to one another most of the time. Don't even lie about it. Just trying to finish these little details up here. My dog who's freaking out. Must be a squad or something outside. I'm gonna blend all this out. Now we have that depth in there, that dynamic depth. And yes, I'm gonna go and clean up the background. Don't forget. Hey! My son is being obnoxious. I apologize, guys. You hear weird whining going on in the background. That's my son. We are going to add the shines to these guys. Kind of like almost luminescence to these that exists on the markings. I feel like it adds a little depth to our little character here. Quite enjoying this. Blur it out just a bit. That's really nice. We do have to add our shines, which is like our whites. Oh, yep, I forgot. Layer change. I have no idea what these little things in the apples are called. I know they're some sort of light reflection type dealio, but I'm not entirely sure what they are called. Thin this out so I can draw a little nose shine here. A little wet. We are going to add some kind of opaque white here. Oh, it's way too big. And kind of blend it out so there is like some light. Whatever. Some light differences here.